The Judicial Conduct Tribunal probing sexual harassment allegations against Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge continues today. Evidence Leader Advocate Salome Scheepers began her cross-examination yesterday by testing the top judge's knowledge of his authority as the head of the court, his thoughts on the appropriateness of the relationship given his position, as well as his marital status, to name a few. Now, Judge Mbenenge is accused of alleged sexual harassment by Junior Judge's Secretary Andiswa Mengo in the form of in-person interactions and electronic communications between June 2021 and November 2022. So to talk to us about this a little more, we're joined virtually by Alison Tilley, who's a coordinator at Judges Matter. Alison, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. Thank you.
Very interesting, the developments in this tribunal, I'd say, Alison. But what do you make of the Judge President Selby Mbenenges cross-examination so far?
Well, I think we've seen a couple of things. I think also just how difficult it is to cross-examine a judge president. He has been very careful to go to the record, look at the evidence in addition to the WhatsApps. It's certainly something that we know is ongoing. Today, it'll probably run until lunchtime, with the chair of the tribunal saying that he doesn't want to drag the case out. So we'd expect it to be finishing this morning.
And of course, it speaks to so many issues with regard to, for one, Alison, the power dynamic in the workplace when you have this sort of situation play out between a senior and a junior.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things that has puzzled the tribunal. If somebody says something in the context of a work relationship, where the one person is so much more powerful, why don't they just say no? And the answer is, of course, well, because of that relationship. If you're worried about losing your job, you will need to say no, but in the most polite and deferential way. And I think that was the evidence from Dr. Vetten, and I think we're seeing that play out.
Alison, what we also saw yesterday is the evidence leader, Advocate Salome Scheepers, beginning her cross-examination by testing the top judge's knowledge of his authority as the head of the court. Now, how crucial is that?
Well, I think that is central, because the authority of the judge president and what he is able to do is really central to understanding how Ms. Mengo would have been seeing the situation. He's not even just an ordinary judge, and judges are powerful enough, but the leader in that division.
And of course, the judge president, making out, and the question of ethics came up, but and he insisted that this was essentially a flirtatious relationship between two consenting adults.
Yes, and that's certainly been his evidence so far. I think that what the evidence leader has been trying to test is whether that's a reasonable proposition up against the evidence around certainly exchanges where the JP will send repeated messages over a short space of time, and then the tribunal is going to have to weigh that up and see whether that would constitute misconduct.
And this, of course, is a landmark case. So what happens here is going to be quite instructive moving forward. And how do you think, things have gone so far in terms of whether you believe that, going forward, we will be able to have clarity when it comes to these sort of relationships in the workplace, especially within the judiciary?
Well, I think Two things. I mean, the one thing is that we know that there is a policy, a sexual harassment policy coming for the judiciary. And I think that's really helpful because then it says in the workplace, what is and isn't acceptable. So, and I think that then deals with the issues around morality and culture and the kind of those issues. But I think the second thing that we have to think about is where you have this situation developing. Are there rules? Can you rely on those rules? What we've seen here is somebody trying to rely on those rules, the complainant, and certainly finding it very difficult to pursue that complaint. And I think what worries me is that might well have a chilling effect on other complainants, and not just in the context of the judiciary, but in other workplaces.
And one of the things that this has done, if you scour, the social media platforms, is raised many other questions in the minds of the onlookers, which are ourselves and everybody else in the country following this particular tribunal. People are questioning, it would seem in part, Alison, how the judge would have presided over matters of sexual harassment that have come before him, given his interpretation that we have seen him give in this instance where he's defending himself.
And I think that is concerning. And I think what we also have to think about is how people see that as litigants. When you're coming to court, you're expecting that your judicial officer, whether it's magistrates' courts or high courts, or indeed, the CCMA and labour courts, you're expecting that people know and understand the rules around sexual harassment, which we have in law. And not only that we know them and we're applying them, I think particularly for judicial officers. And I think we've seen that that's not necessarily the case here.
And also, Alison, the question then, of course, is how this is likely to impact the Judge President's judicial career, regardless of the outcome. How is that going to be impacted?
Well, I think that's a difficult question to answer, because we know that we've just had 2 judges impeached. We also know that there have been sanctions that have been less than impeachment, and some of that is an apology. Some of that is remedying the problem. So if you've got outstanding judgments, getting them finished, getting them out. So I think that's all of those are possibilities. It certainly seems like, in my view, I think that I would be surprised at this stage to see a strong argument for impeachment, just because I wonder if the tribunal is going to take this question of sexual harassment seriously. If, of course, Judge President Mbenenge is found guilty of misconduct.
And perceptions, of course, as I say, regardless of how this plays out in terms of the outcome, perceptions are powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, that's one of the questions that people have asked is, well, should he have maybe put us all through this? Wouldn't the better thing to have done be to resign or retire, and instead of putting himself through this tribunal? It's difficult to say, but I think he's obviously taken the view that he would rather fight it out. It's going to be difficult going back to the division. I think that we can see, and the question is going to be what will await him in terms of a workplace that has now had the opportunity of seeing him cross-examined on these personal matters. So yeah, that's going to be a challenge, I would imagine, for him.
Well, it's certainly been interesting. Thank you so much, Alison Tilley, who is the coordinator at Judges Matter, giving us her analysis on the ongoing Judicial Conduct Tribunal probing sexual harassment allegations against the Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge. And of course, your views always welcome. You can get in touch with us at Morning Live SABC. Let's take a quick break.